The Zephyrian Ambassador's claw hovered 3 inches from the small orange tabby's head. When Queen Elena Vasquez stepped into the throne room, the cat Mango, belonging to her 8-year-old daughter Princess Sofia, sat perfectly still on the marble floor, golden eyes fixed on the towering alien whose scaled hands could crush its skull in seconds. "Your Majesty." Ambassador Krex's voice resonated like grinding stone, "has committed an offense against the Zephyrian Empire." Elena's expression remained neutral as her royal guard shifted almost imperceptibly behind her. Captain Hayes's hand rested casually near his sidearm. The other guards maintained their positions, but their eyes tracked every movement in the room. "What offense?" Elena asked, her voice carrying the weight of authority that had negotiated peace treaties with 12 different species. "It attacked me." Krex's reptilian features twisted in what might have been indignation. "Drew blood." Elena examined the ambassador's scaled hide, noting a thin scratch across his wrist, barely visible, already healing. Her gaze shifted to Mango, who remained motionless except for the slight twitch of his tail tip. "You entered my daughter's playroom uninvited," Elena said. "It wasn't a question." "I was conducting a security sweep as outlined in Protocol 7 of the Diplomatic Immunity Statute. All spaces within the royal residence fall under. My daughter was in that room." The temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Princess Sofia appeared in the doorway, tears streaming down her face, her small hands clutching a torn stuffed elephant. Elena's jaw tightened as she noticed the ripped fabric of her daughter's dress sleeve. "He scared Mango," Sofia whispered, her voice trembling. "Mango was just protecting me when the scary man grabbed me." Ambassador Krex straightened to his full 8-foot height. "The child exaggerates. I merely restrained her when she interfered with my duties. The animal's attack was unprovoked aggression against a diplomatic representative." "You touched my daughter." Elena's words came out quiet, precise, the kind of quiet that made seasoned diplomats reconsider their career choices. "I executed my responsibilities according to Captain Hayes." "Yes, Your Majesty. Please escort Princess Sofia to her grandmother's quarters. Ensure Mango accompanies her." Hayes moved forward, but Krex's claw swept down, blocking the cat's path. "This animal must face Zephyrian justice. Article 15 of our trade agreement clearly states." "Article 15 covers crimes against diplomatic personnel," Elena interrupted. "It requires intent to harm. The creature drew my blood. The creature protected a child from an adult male who grabbed her without permission." Elena's voice remained steady, but something had shifted in her posture. A subtle straightening that made the royal guards tense. Krex's scaled lips pulled back. "Are you questioning my version of events, Your Majesty? Such accusations could strain the delicate peace our peoples have worked so hard to achieve." The threat hung in the air like smoke. The Zephyrian Empire controlled 3 shipping lanes essential to Earth's food supply. Their military numbered in the billions. A single diplomatic incident could trigger economic sanctions that would starve entire colonies. Elena glanced at her daughter, still trembling in the doorway, then back at the ambassador, whose claw remained poised above the small cat. "Captain Hayes, I want full security footage from Princess Sofia's playroom uploaded to the Galactic Diplomatic Database within the hour." Krex's pupils dilated. "Your Majesty? Such recordings could compromise sensitive diplomatic procedures. The same database that monitors all diplomatic immunity claims," Elena continued. "The one reviewed by the Council of 12 when diplomatic privileges are questioned." "You wouldn't dare," Elena smiled. The kind of smile that had earned her the nickname the Iron Rose among galactic leaders. "Princess Sofia, please tell Ambassador Krex exactly what happened when he entered your room." The little girl's voice grew stronger. "He said I had to leave because grown-ups needed to talk. When I said it was my room, he grabbed my arm and pulled me. Mango jumped on his hand because he was hurting me." Krex's massive frame seemed to shrink slightly. "The child misunderstands." "Captain, what does the security footage show?" Hayes' expression remained professional, but his voice carried steel. "A clear recording of Ambassador Krex physically restraining Princess Sofia without justification, Your Majesty. The cat's defensive action lasted approximately 1.2 seconds. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. Ambassador Krex's breathing grew audible, a rasping sound that indicated stress in his species. His claw slowly withdrew from above Mango's head. "Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding," Krex said finally. Elena stepped closer to the ambassador, her presence somehow making his towering height seem less imposing. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of someone who had never backed down from a threat. "Ambassador Krex, you have 30 seconds to withdraw your accusation against my daughter's cat, or I will personally ensure that security footage reaches every member of the Galactic Council before dinner." The ambassador's scaled hands trembled almost imperceptibly. In the growing silence, Mango finally moved, padding across the marble floor to wind around Princess Sofia's legs, purring softly. The sound seemed to break something in Ambassador Krex. His shoulders sagged, and when he looked up, his reptilian features held something resembling fear. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "I believe I may have misinterpreted the situation." Elena waited. The animal acted within acceptable parameters of territorial defense. No formal complaint will be filed. "Good." Elena's smile never wavered, but her eyes held the promise of consequences. "Captain Hayes will escort you to your quarters. I trust you'll remember that children and animals on Earth are protected by laws that supersede diplomatic immunity." As the massive alien diplomat was led away, Elena knelt beside her daughter and gently scratched Mango's ears. "Thank you," she whispered to the small orange cat, "for protecting what matters most." Outside, 3 Zephyrian warships received urgent communications to stand down from their defensive positions around Earth. The ambassador had just learned that some battles couldn't be won through size, claws, or political pressure. Sometimes all it took was a mother who refused to let anyone hurt her child, and understood that the smallest guardian could command the respect of empires when backed by unshakable resolve and the truth. The orange tabby purred louder, golden eyes half closed with contentment, completely unaware that he had just helped prevent an interstellar incident through nothing more than loyalty, courage, and perfect timing. Elena stood, lifting both her daughter and the cat, knowing that some victories were measured not in treaties signed or words spoken, but in the safety of those who trusted you to keep them from harm. In the hallway, Ambassador Krex walked stiffly between his escorts, his scaled skin still bearing the faint mark where courage had triumphed over size and love had proven stronger than fear. The small orange guardian had won a war without firing a shot. 20 minutes later, Ambassador Krex sat in his quarters, staring at his reflection in the polished wall panel. The scratch on his wrist had already healed completely. Zephyrian physiology handled minor injuries within hours, but the memory of how he'd received it burned like acid in his mind. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority transmission from the Zephyrian homeworld. Krex's stomach churned as Fleet Admiral Voss's scarred face appeared on the screen. "Ambassador, explain the stand-down order for our defensive fleet." Krex's throat constricted. Admiral Voss had survived the Centauri Wars through pure brutality. Showing weakness before him meant career death, or worse. A minor diplomatic misunderstanding, Admiral, resolved without incident. Misunderstanding. Voss's voice carried the edge of a blade. "Our intelligence reports suggest you threatened harm to the human queen's offspring. The situation was more complex than initial reports indicated, was it?" The Admiral's laugh held no warmth. "Because our analysts have been monitoring Earth's communication networks, the humans haven't sent a single distress signal to their allies. No emergency diplomatic channels activated. No military alerts." Krex felt sweat beading on his scaled skin. They showed restraint. They showed confidence. Voss leaned forward, his mechanical eye whirring as it focused. "Tell me, Ambassador, what exactly happened in that throne room?" The weight of the Admiral's stare made Krex's legs unsteady. He'd commanded star destroyers, negotiated with species that could dissolve matter with their thoughts, survived diplomatic missions to worlds where the atmosphere was pure methane. But sitting under Admiral Voss's scrutiny felt like facing execution. The human queen demonstrated remarkable composure under pressure. Elaborate. Krex closed his eyes, remembering Elena's steel calm voice, the way her guards had positioned themselves with military precision, the absolute certainty in her expression when she'd threatened to expose the security footage. She knew exactly what she was doing, Admiral. Every word calculated, every action measured. She didn't negotiate. She dictated terms while making it seem like diplomacy. And you backed down? I had no choice. The security footage would have shown. What it showed doesn't matter. Voss's mechanical eye clicked as it zoomed. What matters is that you believed she would use it. That tells me everything I need to know about Queen Elena Vasquez. The transmission flickered as another figure entered the background. General Thane, commander of the Zephyrian ground forces. His presence made Krex's blood pressure spike even higher. Ambassador. General Thane's gravelly voice carried across the connection. We've been analyzing human military deployments around their solar system. Nothing's changed. No additional patrols, no elevated alert status. They're continuing standard operations as if nothing happened. Because to them, nothing did happen, Admiral Voss said quietly. They never doubted the outcome. The reality of what he'd walked into began crystallizing in Krex's mind. The human queen hadn't been bluffing or gambling. She'd been stating facts. The security footage, the diplomatic consequences, the protection of her child, all of it had been certain in her mind before she'd even entered the room. Sir, the humans couldn't have known we were monitoring They knew. General Thane stepped closer to the screen. Our cybersecurity division detected 17 separate attempts to access our communication networks in the past 6 hours. Amateur work, easily blocked. But the timing was perfect. They wanted us to know they were watching. Admiral Voss nodded slowly. Psychological warfare at its finest. They let us see enough to understand they were prepared, but not enough to consider it an act of aggression. Krex's hands trembled as he grasped the full scope of what had occurred. The confrontation in the throne room hadn't been spontaneous. It had been orchestrated from the moment Princess Sofia screamed. "The child," he whispered. "What about the child?" Voss demanded. "She wasn't just crying when I found her. She was performing. The torn dress, the way she positioned herself in the doorway, the exact words she used to describe what happened." Krex's voice cracked. It was too perfect. The silence on the transmission stretched until it became oppressive. "Ambassador," Admiral Voss said finally, "are you suggesting that the human queen used her own daughter as bait in a diplomatic trap?" "I'm suggesting that human females are far more dangerous than our intelligence reports indicated." Krex stood, pacing to the small window that showed Earth's blue marble hanging in space. The queen never raised her voice, never showed anger, never made a direct threat. But every word, every pause, every gesture was designed to make me believe I was one mistake away from starting a war. "Were you?" The question hung in the air like a death sentence. "I don't know," Krex admitted. "And that's what made her so terrifying. I couldn't tell if she was bluffing or if she genuinely had the power to back up every implied threat." General Thane's expression had grown thoughtful. "Our psychological profiles of human leadership focus on their males, their presidents, generals, military commanders. We may have overlooked a critical element. The mothers," Admiral Voss said quietly. "More than that." Krex turned back to the screen. "The queens. Elena Vasquez has spent 8 years negotiating trade agreements, peace treaties, and territorial disputes with species that could annihilate humanity without effort. But today, when someone threatened her child, she didn't negotiate. She conquered," Voss finished, "without firing a shot, without raising her voice, without even making direct threats. She simply decided what would happen, and made it feel inevitable." The transmission crackled as both Zephyrian commanders processed this information. "Ambassador," General Thane said carefully, "what's your assessment of human defensive capabilities based on this interaction?" Krex thought about the Royal Guards, how they'd moved with precision, how their hands had found weapon grips without appearing threatening, how they'd communicated through glances and subtle positioning. "I think we've been measuring the wrong things," he said finally. "We've counted their ships, analyzed their weapons, studied their military doctrine, but we haven't factored in their willingness to protect what they love." "Emotional warfare," Admiral Voss mused. "No, sir. Something deeper than emotions. Absolute certainty, backed by perfect preparation." Krex's reflection stared back at him from the wall panel. When Queen Elena looked at me, she wasn't seeing an 8-foot-tall predator with claws and superior physical strength. She was seeing an obstacle between her and her child's safety. And obstacles, General Thane said slowly, are meant to be removed. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Krex alone with his thoughts and a growing realization that the Zephyrian Empire had just encountered something far more dangerous than human military might. They'd met a human mother who refused to be threatened, and somehow, that small orange cat had been the key that unlocked a display of power more impressive than any fleet deployment. 3 hours after the confrontation, Princess Sofia sat in her grandmother's garden, carefully brushing Mango's orange fur while Grandmother Martinez watched from her wheelchair. The elderly woman's sharp eyes missed nothing. Not the way Sofia checked the garden entrances every few minutes, nor how Mango remained unusually alert despite his contented purring. "Mija," Grandmother Martinez said softly, "you can stop performing now." "What do you mean, Abuela?" "I mean the tears you turned on and off like a faucet, the way you tore your sleeve just enough to look dramatic, and how you positioned yourself in that doorway for maximum effect." The old woman's voice held warmth, not criticism. "Your mother taught you well." Sofia's lower lip trembled, this time genuinely. "Was it wrong?" "Mama always says we should tell the truth." "The truth about what, Nieta?" "The scary man did grab me. He did hurt my arm. Mango did protect me." Sofia's voice grew smaller. "But I knew Mama would see the cameras. I knew she would come. I made it bigger so she would be more angry." Grandmother Martinez wheeled her chair closer, her weathered hands gently taking Sofia's face. "And why did you think your mother needed to be more angry?" "Because he wasn't just being mean to me." Sofia's eyes filled with real tears now. "I heard him talking to his friends on his communication thingy. He said Earth children are weak and their pets are worthless. He said when the Zephyrians take over, the first thing they'll do is get rid of all the animals because they're wasteful." The color drained from Grandmother Martinez's face. "Sofia, are you certain that's what you heard? He was speaking human because he thought I wouldn't understand the important words. But I've been studying really hard in my language lessons." Sofia buried her face in Mango's fur. "I got scared that if I just told Mama he was mean to me, she might forgive him, because adults forgive each other a lot. But if I made it seem really bad, she would respond as a mother instead of a queen." Sofia nodded against the cat's soft fur. "I'm sorry I lied about how scared I was. I was scared, but not just for me." Grandmother Martinez felt a chill that had nothing to do with the garden's shade. In 8 decades of life, she'd learned to recognize the difference between childish drama and genuine intuition. Sofia possessed the same instincts that had made her mother such an effective leader, the ability to read people's true intentions beneath their words. "Mija, we need to tell your mother what you really heard. She already knows." Sofia looked up, her dark eyes far too mature for an 8-year-old. "Why do you think she had Captain Hayes record everything? She's already sent the recordings to Uncle Carlos at Federation Intelligence." The sound of approaching footsteps made them both turn. Elena entered the garden, her formal diplomatic attire replaced with simple jeans and a sweater, but her expression remained troubled. "How much did she figure out?" Elena asked her mother-in-law, settling onto the bench beside them. "Everything," Grandmother Martinez replied, "including the part about Zephyrian long-term plans for our animal companions." Elena's jaw tightened. "The intelligence community has been monitoring increased Zephyrian interest in our ecological management systems. What you heard, sweetheart, confirms our worst suspicions." Sofia stroked Mango's fur more urgently. "Are they going to try to hurt all the animals?" "Not if I can help it." Elena's voice carried the same steel that had faced down Ambassador Krex. "But we needed proof of their intentions, and diplomatic immunity makes it nearly impossible to gather evidence through normal channels." "So you used me as bait," Sofia said matter-of-factly. "I used your intelligence and your courage to help protect not just you, but every child and animal on Earth." Elena pulled her daughter close. "I would never put you in real danger, Sofia. Captain Hayes and his team were monitoring everything. If Ambassador Krex had tried to actually harm you..." "The floor panels in my playroom aren't decoration," Sofia finished. "They're armed response positions." Grandmother Martinez stared at both of them. "Sweet Mary and Joseph, you two have been planning this." Elena's smile held exhaustion and pride in equal measure. "Sofia came to me 3 days ago with what she'd overheard. We realized that if Krex was conducting unauthorized surveillance, he would eventually find an excuse to search her room. We simply prepared for that possibility. The stuffed elephant? Remote-activated recording device, Sofia said proudly. And Mango's collar has been upgraded with sensor technology. He could have defended himself if the scary man tried to really hurt him. Mango looked up at the mention of his name, golden eyes alert, and for the first time Grandmother Martinez noticed the subtle modifications to his collar, barely visible unless you knew what to look for. So the ambassador walked into a trap. The ambassador walked into a learning experience, Elena corrected. Now the Zephyrian Empire knows that threatening Earth's children or animals will result in immediate consequences. She pulled up a holographic display from her wrist communicator showing a series of diplomatic messages. In the past 3 hours, we've received solidarity messages from the Andromedan Council, the Centauri Federation, and the Tau Ceti Alliance. Footage of a human child protecting her pet and a human mother protecting her child has gone viral across 17 different species communication networks. Sofia's eyes widened. People saw what happened? Diplomatic situations are always recorded by neutral observers, Elena explained. But this time, instead of seeing cold political maneuvering, they saw something universal. Love, protection. The holographic display showed response statistics, hundreds of species expressing support for Earth's position, several trade agreements being offered, and most importantly, 3 major military alliances expressing interest in formal defense pacts. All because of Mango. All because you and Mango showed the galaxy that Earth doesn't just defend itself through military strength, Elena said softly. We defend ourselves through the bonds we form with each other and with the creatures we love. Grandmother Martinez wiped tears from her eyes. So what happens now? Elena's expression grew serious. Now we prepare for the Zephyrian response. Ambassador Krex was operating under orders, which means his government authorized those surveillance activities. They'll either back down completely or escalate dramatically. And if they escalate? Elena looked at her daughter, who was still calmly brushing Mango's fur despite the weight of interstellar politics swirling around them. Then they'll learn that human mothers don't just protect their own children, they protect all the children they've sworn to keep safe. The holographic display flickered, showing an incoming priority message from Tau Ceti Command. Earth's demonstration of protective instincts has impressed our council. We formally request Defense Alliance negotiations. Another message appeared from the Andromedan Peace Corps. Human Queen's restraint and effectiveness noted, requesting training exchange for diplomatic crisis resolution. Sofia looked up at her mother. Are we going to be okay? Elena kissed the top of her daughter's head, breathing in the scent of her shampoo mixed with garden flowers and cat fur, the most precious smell in any universe. We're going to be fine, sweetheart. Because now the entire galaxy knows what happens when someone threatens what we love. Mango purred louder, as if agreeing, his golden eyes half closed with contentment in the growing twilight. 3 generations of strong women sat together with a small orange guardian who had just helped reshape interstellar diplomacy through nothing more than loyalty and perfect timing. Somewhere in space, Zephyrian commanders were learning that size and strength meant nothing when faced with love backed by absolute determination and careful preparation. The small orange cat had indeed won a war without firing a shot, but the victory belonged to every mother who refused to let her children face danger alone. Fleet Admiral Voss stood before the High Command Council, his mechanical eye whirring as it processed the holographic data stream surrounding the amphitheater. 12 of the Zephyrian Empire's most powerful leaders sat in judgment, their scaled features impassive as they reviewed the intelligence reports from Earth. Admiral! Supreme Commander Zeth's voice resonated through the chamber. Explain how a single human female neutralized our diplomatic mission without deploying a single weapon. Voss straightened his shoulders, knowing that careers and lives hung in the balance of his next words. Supreme Commander, we underestimated the strategic depth of human emotional warfare. Emotional warfare? Commander Nix's pupils dilated with skepticism. You're suggesting the humans weaponized sentimentality? I'm suggesting they weaponized preparation disguised as spontaneous maternal protection. Voss activated his tactical display showing the timeline of events leading to the confrontation. Analysis indicates the humans were aware of Ambassador Krex's surveillance activities and deliberately created conditions that would force him into an untenable position. The holographic display shifted, showing communication intercepts, movement patterns, and behavioral analysis data. The child's presence in that room wasn't accidental, Voss continued, nor was the animal's defensive response. Intelligence suggests the humans have been monitoring our communications and knew exactly what Ambassador Krex hoped to achieve. Supreme Commander Zeph leaned forward, his ancient features creased with thought. Are you telling this council that a human child was used as a strategic asset against our diplomatic mission? I'm telling you that human cultural values create tactical advantages we haven't properly analyzed. Voss highlighted specific data points on his display. The protecting offspring is so fundamental to human psychology that threatening their young results in immediate, decisive response regardless of numerical or technological disadvantages. Commander Rax huffed dismissively. Primitive emotional responses hardly constitute advanced warfare. Do they? Voss turned to face the skeptical commander. In the 18 hours since the confrontation, Earth has received formal support from 47 different species, including 6 major military powers. Their queen has been invited to address the Galactic Council regarding protective protocols for children across all member species. 3 trade sanctions against Earth have been withdrawn by species that previously supported our expansion policies. The chamber fell silent, except for the subtle hum of holographic projectors. More significantly, Voss continued, psychological analysis of Queen Elena's behavior indicates she never doubted her position's strength. She didn't negotiate because from her perspective there was nothing to negotiate. In her mind, threatening her child was tantamount to declaring war, and she was prepared to respond accordingly. Commander Thale, the Empire's chief strategist, activated his own data stream. Admiral Voss, what indications suggested she was prepared for war? Complete confidence in her position, perfect timing of her responses, strategic use of available intelligence assets, and most importantly, the total absence of fear. When Ambassador Krex threatened consequences, Queen Elena smiled. The weight of that statement settled over the chamber like a shroud. She smiled. Supreme Commander Zeth repeated slowly, because she knew something we didn't. She knew that her response was being monitored by 17 different species through diplomatic observation protocols. She knew that footage of a human mother protecting her child would resonate across cultures that value family bonds. She knew that Ambassador Krex's behavior would appear as unprovoked aggression against a non-combatant civilian. Voss paused, allowing the implications to sink in. Most importantly, she knew that we couldn't afford to escalate beyond diplomatic pressure because doing so would unite species that currently compete with each other in opposition to us. You're suggesting this was a deliberate trap. I'm suggesting this was masterful strategic thinking disguised as maternal instinct. Voss brought up a new display showing Earth's defensive capabilities. Intelligence revision indicates we've been analyzing human military strength incorrectly. We've focused on their technology and numbers while ignoring their psychological resilience and tactical flexibility. Elaborate, Supreme Commander Zeth commanded. Humans don't fight to conquer. They fight to protect. That fundamental difference means they're willing to accept costs we wouldn't consider acceptable, pursue strategies we wouldn't risk, and maintain resistance even when conventional analysis suggests surrender would be logical. The holographic display shifted to show historical human conflicts, their willingness to fight against superior numbers, their tendency to unite when threatened, their capacity to improvise effective responses under pressure. Ambassador Krex encountered a human female protecting her offspring. Voss concluded, by human standards, his defeat was inevitable from the moment he chose that target. The council members exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable, but their body language suggesting growing unease. What do you recommend? Supreme Commander Zeth asked finally. Voss had prepared for this question, knowing it would determine both his career and the Empire's future course. Complete withdrawal from Earth expansion protocols, he said without hesitation. Immediate cessation of all surveillance activities targeting human civilian populations, and formal diplomatic recognition of Earth's protective protocols regarding children and animal companions. You're suggesting we back down entirely? Commander Rax's voice carried outrage. "I'm suggesting we avoid a conflict where victory would be impossible to achieve through conventional means." Voss brought up final analysis data. "Humans possess something we don't. Absolute commitment to protecting what they love, combined with sophisticated tactical thinking and natural psychological warfare capabilities. And if we refuse to withdraw, then we face a species that will fight with everything they have, every time, for as long as necessary, while building alliance relationships with every other species that values family bonds." Voss's mechanical eye clicked as it refocused. "We would be fighting not just Earth, but the emotional convictions of half the known galaxy." The chamber remained silent for long minutes as the council processed this assessment. Finally, Supreme Commander Zeth spoke. "Admiral, are you telling us that we were defeated by a house pet?" Voss considered his words carefully. "I'm telling you we were defeated by what that house pet represented. Unbreakable bonds, unconditional loyalty, and the willingness of humans to fight impossible odds when those bonds are threatened. And the child? The child demonstrated something equally dangerous: human generational learning. She observed, analyzed, adapted, and executed a strategy that accomplished multiple objectives simultaneously." Voss's expression grew grim. "If their 8-year-olds possess that level of tactical thinking, we need to reconsider our assumptions about human intelligence capabilities." Supreme Commander Zeth stared at the data streams for several more seconds before making his decision. "Prepare formal cessation of expansion protocols regarding Earth. Draft diplomatic recognition of their protective policies. And Admiral." "Yes, Supreme Commander. Ensure Ambassador Krex understands that his career depends on maintaining cordial relations with Queen Elena and her animal companions." As the council dispersed, Admiral Voss remained behind, staring at the holographic display showing Earth's small blue marble hanging in space. Somewhere on that planet, a small orange cat was probably sleeping peacefully, completely unaware that he had just helped end an interstellar expansion campaign through nothing more than protecting a child he loved. And somewhere else on that same planet, a human mother was tucking her daughter into bed, equally unaware that her refusal to be intimidated had just reshaped galactic politics. The most dangerous human weapon, Voss realized, wasn't their technology or their military might. It was their absolute refusal to let anyone harm those they had chosen to protect. 6 months later, Princess Sofia sat in the Galactic Council's Youth Embassy chamber, addressing representatives from 43 different species about protective protocols for young beings across the known galaxy. Mango lay contentedly in her lap, his orange fur gleaming under the chamber's soft lighting, completely comfortable despite being surrounded by creatures that could have easily dominated him through size or natural advantages. "The most important thing," Sofia said, her 8-year-old voice carrying clearly through the translation systems, "is that protection isn't about being bigger or stronger. It's about caring more than the scary thing wants to hurt you." Ambassador Krex, now serving as the Zephyrian representative to the Youth Embassy, shifted uncomfortably in his specially designed seat. Since the incident 6 months ago, he had become an unlikely advocate for Earth's protective protocols, though everyone suspected his enthusiastic support stemmed more from career preservation than genuine conversion. "Princess Sofia," called Representative Yana from the Centauri delegation, "can you explain how your companion knew to protect you during the diplomatic incident?" Sofia scratched behind Mango's ears, and the cat's purr vibrated through the chamber's audio systems, causing several delegates to lean forward with interest. Mango didn't know about diplomacy or politics or any of that grown-up stuff, Sofia explained. He just knew that someone was scared. That was me. And someone was causing the scared feeling. That was Ambassador Krex. So he did what anyone should do when someone they love is in danger. The simplicity of the statement resonated through the chamber. Species that had spent centuries developing complex defensive protocols found themselves considering the basic fundamentals of protection, not strategic advantage, but emotional commitment. "But surely," Ambassador Krex interjected carefully, "there are situations where diplomatic considerations must override protective instincts." Sofia's dark eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made the large alien diplomat fidget. Even after 6 months, she still made him uncomfortable, not through fear, but through the penetrating directness of her observation. "Ambassador Krex," Sofia said politely, "do you have children?" "Yes," out of 3. If someone grabbed one of your children and made them cry, would you think about diplomatic considerations first, or would you think about protecting your baby? The question hung in the chamber like a physical presence. Every delegate, regardless of species, culture, or governmental system, understood the fundamental choice being presented. Krex's scaled features softened slightly. I would protect my offspring. Then you understand why Mama did what she did, and why Mango did what he did. Sofia's voice remained gentle, but her logic was ironclad. The only difference was that Mama used words and Mango used his claws. Representative Zelon from the Andromedan Council activated his communication device. Princess Sofia, the Andromedan Peace Corps has studied your mother's diplomatic techniques during the incident. Her approach seemed to combine emotional authenticity with strategic precision. How do we teach such skills to our own diplomatic corps? Sofia considered this seriously, her small hand continuing to stroke Mango's fur. I think you can't teach someone to protect things they don't love, she said finally. Mama wasn't being diplomatic that day. She was being my mama. All the diplomatic stuff, the cameras and the recordings and the important phone calls, that was just the tools she used to do her mama job. The chamber buzzed with quiet conversation as delegates processed this distinction. So authentic protective behavior requires genuine emotional investment, Representative Yana summarized. It requires choosing what matters most, and then never backing down when it's threatened, Sofia agreed. Like right now. If someone tried to hurt Mango, I wouldn't think about all of you watching, or about representing Earth, or about diplomatic consequences. I would just protect him, and then worry about explaining later. As if understanding he was the subject of discussion, Mango opened his golden eyes and surveyed the chamber with calm interest. His gaze lingered briefly on Ambassador Krex, who unconsciously drew back slightly, before returning to contented half-slumber. Princess Sofia, came a new voice from the back of the chamber. Representative Koth from the Tau Ceti Alliance, your mother's actions resulted in significant political changes across multiple species. Do you believe she anticipated those consequences? But that day, she wasn't thinking about political consequences. She was thinking about what would happen if people believed they could hurt kids and get away with it. And what would happen? More kids would get hurt. Sofia's voice carried absolute certainty. Mama's job isn't just to protect me, it's to protect all the kids who can't protect themselves. So when someone threatens one kid, they're really threatening all kids. The logic was so fundamental, so irreducible, that it cut through centuries of complex diplomatic theory to reach basic truth. Representative Zelon leaned forward. Princess Sofia, what would you say to species that believe protective behavior should be limited to one's own genetic offspring? Sofia's response came without hesitation. I'd say they don't understand what family really means. She lifted Mango slightly, holding him so the chamber could see his relaxed, trusting expression. Mango isn't my species. He can't talk to me with words, and we don't share DNA. But he's my family because we take care of each other. When I'm sad, he sits with me. When he's hungry, I feed him. When someone tried to hurt me, he protected me. When someone tried to hurt him, Mama protected both of us. The simplicity of the concept, family defined by mutual care rather than biological connection, sent ripples through delegations representing species where genetic compatibility determined social structure. Family, Sofia continued, means you choose to protect each other even when it's hard, even when it's scary, even when other people don't understand why you care about someone so different from you. Ambassador Krex found himself speaking before he could stop himself. Princess Sofia, I owe you and your companion an apology. My actions that day were inappropriate. Sofia's expression softened. Thank you, Ambassador Krex. Apologies are important because they show you've learned something. What have I learned? That size doesn't make you strong. Caring does. And that the smallest guardian can be the bravest guardian if he loves someone enough to risk getting hurt protecting them. She gently stroked Mango's fur, and the cat's purr grew louder. Mango knew he was way smaller than you, and that you could probably hurt him really badly. But he protected me anyway, because that's what love does. It makes you brave enough to face scary things for someone else. The chamber remained silent as delegates contemplated this 8-year-old's understanding of courage. protection, and family bonds. Finally, Representative Yana spoke. Princess Sofia, on behalf of the Galactic Youth Protection Initiative, we thank you for helping us understand that the strongest societies are built not on power or technology, but on the willingness of each person, regardless of size or species, to protect those they love. Sofia smiled, her expression lighting the chamber brighter than any holographic display. You're welcome, but you should really thank Mango. He's the one who showed everyone that being small doesn't mean you can't be a hero. As the session ended and delegates filed out, many paused to observe the small orange cat who had fundamentally altered their understanding of strength, courage, and family. Mango accepted their attention with regal calm, golden eyes wise beyond his species, completely comfortable in his role as an unlikely ambassador for the power of protective love. Outside the chamber, Queen Elena waited with a smile that mixed pride, love, and quiet satisfaction. Her daughter had just taught the galaxy's most sophisticated minds that the greatest diplomatic tool wasn't negotiation or compromise. It was the simple, unshakable commitment to protect those who trusted you to keep them safe. And curled in a small girl's arms, an orange tabby cat purred contentedly, completely unaware that he had become the galaxy's symbol of why the smallest family member might just be the most important guardian of all. The war had indeed been won without a single shot fired, through love, loyalty, and the courage to protect what matters most, regardless of the odds.